This week's class, When Your Health Matters, the class designed to empower you to better health through knowledge and education. And I'm your host, Dr. Richard Huntoon from Advanced Alternative Medicine Center. We're located at 138 Canal Street in Pooler Park, that is in Pooler, Georgia. We're in Suite 404 of Building 400. If you want to stop into the office, that would be wonderful. I'd love the opportunity to meet you, but we're still very slowly climbing out of this COVID-19 pandemic, and it's so people are still a little apprehensive about meeting new people, even if it's a doctor. So the next best way would be to call my cell phone directly at area code 845-561-2225. Again, 845-561-2225. I'll be the one answering the phone 99% of the time. I'll give you an opportunity to ask your questions and the safety and comfort of being on your cell phone. Please do not text that phone, as that phone does not receive texts. I can't tell you how many people still try to text me in spite of the fact that they never get a response, yet they still try to do that. I will never get the text, and I will never respond to the text. So please don't waste your time, because I won't have an opportunity to communicate with you. But you can email me directly at docrick, DOCRICK, at spineboy.com. And whether you stop in, whether you call, whether you email, it's my pleasure to help you to better understanding what the concerns you have regarding your health. This class is called When Your Health Matters. It's a weekly healthcare class that is being done via video, since people are still apprehensive about coming out into public. And so I'm happy to do these videos each week. This week's class is on the Chinese 5 elements of health. The 5 elements of health is the foundational basis for which I help people with their health, and have for the last greater than 30 years. It's my pleasure to help people to understand the cycles and rhythms of their body, and it's based upon a 5-element theory of health that's been around for over 7,000 years. When you look at traditional modern medicine that's been around for roughly 100 years, it's hard to argue with 7,000 years of proven history. And it's based upon the 5-element diagram. I've made a diagram here that I don't know if you can see this very well. We have fire up top, we have earth, we have metal, we have water, and we have wood. Okay, this is the yearly cycle. We have the Sheng cycle, which is the creative aspect to the energy of life, and then we have the Ko cycle, which is the destructive. The creative is the outer circle that goes around. That's how the energy flows. And the destructive is this star. Okay, and when we appreciate the 5 elements, we have fire, we have earth, we have metal, we have water, and we have wood. And so water feeds wood, wood eventually can catch on fire, fire returns things back to earth, and earth contracted fully turns into metal, and then we move back into water. Destructively, okay, we have water puts out fire, fire melts metal, metal chops wood, wood extracts from earth, and earth dries up water. So that's the destructive process. And so we got the forward flow of the 5 elements, again going from water to wood, from wood to fire, fire to earth, earth to metal, before repeating again. This is, as I mentioned, the Sheng cycle, or the creative cycle. And then we also briefly touched on the destructive cycle, with fire attacking metal, metal chopping wood, wood pulling from earth, earth basically putting out water or absorbing all the water, and again, water attacking fire. And this is known as the Ko cycle, or the destructive. So within each element, there are subcategories. So if we look at the water element, which begins at the beginning of the year, the water element is made up of the kidneys and the bladder. and they're most active from the last week of December through the second week of March. And so if you want to create the greatest amount of change for those organs, either the kidney or the bladder, that's the best time of year to address those, to support those nutritionally or herbally or homeopathically, because the energy is highest within those organs at that time of year. Moving on from the water element, we go to the wood element. The wood element is primarily the liver and the gallbladder. It's the best time of year to detoxify your whole body, because you're helping the liver and the gallbladder along with the other filters within the body, and that's between the second week of March, really more the third week of March, up through the first week of June. Then we move out of the wood element to the fire element, which is primarily the small intestine and the heart, but also brings in some of the endocrine organs related to the thyroid, the adrenals, and your reproductive organs, if ovaries, if you're a woman, or testicles if you're a man. So that's also important relationships to make changes within the endocrine system. It's primarily best done in the summertime, the heat of the summer. Hence why it's the fire element. But as we move away from the summer, which is the time of year that we're in now, moving into the earth element is primarily the stomach and the spleen and the pancreas. And so creating change within the stomach, things like hiatal hernias, or creating changes within the pancreas or the spleen related to your immunity and how you process sugar and taste the sweetness of life. That's what the earth element is for. And then finally we get into the metal element, which is your three external filters, which happens to be your lungs, your large intestine, and your skin. And so those are important relationships to understand before we move back into the water element of the kidney bladder. And so we'd like you to appreciate that the creative versus the destructive cycles associated with the 5 elements of health. If you understand each element and what they represent, the energy is highest in their corresponding organs or glands, and makes it the best time of year to create the most amount of change within those organs or glands. So it's interesting that we have a misconception within our society in an effort to promote certain holidays. It's interesting, the month of February is associated with Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day is associated with heart. And so lots of healthcare practitioners want to take advantage of the natural holiday of Valentine's Day in an effort to support a person's heart, when in fact that's probably the worst thing you could do to support somebody and their heart health, because if February is part of the water element being made up of the kidney and the bladder, and water does what to fire? Well, it attacks it, it puts it out. So if you're trying to help the heart in January and February during the water element months, the first part of March, essentially what you're doing is you're activating the co-cycle of the Sheng and Ko. And the co-cycle, if you remember, is the destructive process. And so water actually attacks fire. And so if you're trying to support your heart during the month of February, you're actually creating more heart problems. So that's interesting to understand and very important to know. If you don't understand that, then you could be making poor choices for your health based upon how they're celebrating various holidays within our country. And so you don't want to do that. You want to pay attention to the Sheng and the Ko cycles related to what time of year it is, what are the organs or glands that are being supported during that time, and how can you support them more in an effort to maintain health and balance. So we want to appreciate that the energy is highest in the spleen and pancreas of the earth element. The last thing you want to do is feed the element sugar, which is what society does at the end of the earth element time, during the last day of October, which is known as Halloween. And so what do? We send our children out into the world dressed up as their alter egos, their favorite heroes, the ideas that they would like to be within society, whether it's a mutant ninja turtle, whether it's a princess, whether it's I don't know, any of the different scary outfits that people wear when they go out trick-or-treating. And so what do? They go out that time of year and they collect the largest amount of completely refined and processed, what I call crap sugar, at the time of year where you're going to be blowing those circuits and creating problems. You're going to overload the spleen and the pancreas. With so much candy, this will shut off your immune system. And just in time for the winter months, which is going to set you up for a winter full of sickness. And that's the last thing you would like to do for your children. So you want to really rethink the Halloween holiday and what you would consider sending your kids out to collect. And when they come home with bags full of sugary treats, you want to figure out a way to perhaps ask them to give up their candy for some sort of monetary reward. I don't know, give them a nickel a piece, give them $5 for the whole lot if you're really generous, $10 for the whole lot, whatever it takes. And it gives you an opportunity to have a conversation with your children about the importance of staying away from the completely refined and processed foods, in this case the candies, because what they do is they suppress your immune system. They set you up for diabetes. And those are two conditions that you certainly don't want to have. Certainly not with what's been going on for the last, I don't know, 20 months in our world related to COVID-19. So these are the relationships that you truly want to understand. And so if you have questions related to what's going on with your health, and you think that maybe the Chinese 5 elements of health, being over 7,000 years of history, may have some clues to help you better understand your health, because maybe you're not getting the answers to why you have the conditions that you have. Maybe you don't want to do the treatments that are being offered with the lifetime medications, suppressive therapies, and potentially setting yourself up for surgical intervention somewhere down the road. If you really want to get off of that process of life that you've found yourself in, considering the Chinese 5 elements of health would be very, very important. And I would be happy to give you deeper understanding and help you to understand what your body is actually looking for and asking for, and what it's representing symptom-wise, to help you appreciate the underlying reason why you have what you have. It's not so important to treat what you have if you never address the why. But what I've seen in my 31 plus years of practice is when you address the why, the what naturally goes away on its own. So 5 Elements has a lot to offer. I appreciate you tuning in. I would ask you to tune back in next week, same health time, same health station. But if you have questions, please feel to call me directly at area code 845-561-2225. That is my cell phone, or you can email me directly at docrick, DOCRICK, at spineboy.com, or you can stop into the office at 138 Canal Street in Pooler Park, Suite 404 of Building 400. As you come into the parking lot off of Canal Street, we are the second building on the left. And when you come in the front door, I am the first office on your right. And it'd be my pleasure to meet you and answer your questions and help you address the concerns that you have. Until such a time, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate your time, energy, and effort, and I look forward to speaking with you again next week when your health matters.